I was assigned to a lead counsel, I guess, and then she passed me off to an associate counsel, and that's who I've been working with since then.
Okay,
and I
great.
believe that I have finally gotten everyone to understand what I am dealing with and that I'm not being unreasonable. LAPD Southwest Division certainly understands, because they had to break protocol to come into my apartment, one, to stand and watch the faucet that was such an emergency after nearly 8 months be replaced, and one, to keep everybody else out, especially the young woman whose name I do not know, who was wearing a mask and video recording everything. I told him I reserved the right not to be video recorded and not to have anyone into my apartment. That was not part of the repair process. He called the police. The police came. We talked to them separately. She recorded his conversation with the police, recorded the police, but not him. I was allowed to come back into my apartment. He taped another notice to my door that I did not see until 4:00 when I opened my door to receive a pizza. I called my attorney. She called his attorney. We agreed that noon on Friday was not going to happen. So he showed up at my apartment. Either his attorney hadn't been able to get in touch with him or he just chose to disregard it. Showed up at my apartment at 10 minutes after 10. And I went to the door and said, I am not letting you in. You need to talk to your attorney. Because I was alone and I was afraid. I feared for my personal safety. He called the police and the same two officers responded. They broke with protocol, came into the building. And the behavior was as I outlined it.
Thank you so much for detailing this really awful, last couple months or, longer with your landlord. We're going to switch gears a little bit to talk about changes that have happened during the pandemic.
Okay.
So we understand that every household is under a lot of demands right now, but we'd like to understand how you afford the different costs of living, such as rent, food, utilities, and medicine. So since February 2020 and the start of the pandemic, in order to be able to reduce your rent or be able to afford rent, have you made adjustments to help you afford those costs?
I have not needed to make adjustments, knock on wood. My income has not changed. I receive a spousal support check on the first of the month via direct deposit. I just verified it. It's there. I pay my bills in person, usually, or I mail them in plenty of time for them to get to places like Florida and Ohio and Utah and Arizona. And I still have my DWP bill that needs to be paid. And I'm going to drop that off because their drop slot is open again, although the office is closed. I don't need to go in and talk to anybody. My electric bill and water, solid waste disposal are all rolled together, and I receive the senior care discount for senior disabled. I receive a similar discount for gas. And I have what I consider to be the best plan. So there goes the street sweeper. I have what I consider the best plans for me for internet and landline and a cell phone that is currently turned off and sitting in the bottom of my purse because I have not set up the voicemail. I discourage people from using my cell phone. It is for my convenience, not for any Tom, Dick, and Harry who calls and wants to sell me something. I get enough of those spam calls on my landline. And I have the capability of blocking them. Definitely. I love AT&T.
So that's definitely good to know that you haven't had to make any changes because of the pandemic in order to be able to afford rent or any household costs like that. How about, is there, this is a little bit of a shift of a gear, but do you or anyone in your household have a medical condition that requires a doctor?
I am asthmatic, and I have allergies, and I have replaced both hips one in 2009 and one in 2014. So I have had several surgeries. I have had a colonoscopy recently, like within the last year, because colon cancer runs in my family. So I try to stay on top of that. It's an ugly way to die, and it's a preventable condition. Excuse me. I spent the last 24 days of my mother's life with her. I had to argue with my primary care physician at the time to have my first colonoscopy, and polyps were found. So every 5 years or so, I am now eligible under Medicare. I'm too affluent for Medicaid or Medi-Cal, according to their standards. I also applied for rental assistance, the emergency rental assistance program. And after submitting the documentation that I had, I was told that I didn't qualify because I had too much income. Not only was my landlord, not only did he stand to benefit, but he had been refusing my rent. So it didn't even get to the stage where I could say to him or his father or the on-site manager, hey, you can collect your back rent from the city of LA and the state of California if you're just willing to be reasonable about it. And today was the day it opens up, and I've been telling everyone I know, go online, apply, you may qualify again. And I intend to do the same thing. Because now the state of California is also involved. And there's a lot of money that was left over from the people who did qualify.
A few more questions for you related to sort of health and medicine in regards to the pandemic. On an average day, how many hours of sleep do you get at night?
About 5. Because I have neighbors who have no respect for my need to rest at night. But frequently they leave during the day, and I can get 2 or 3 hours during that time. Okay, that is not a call I need to take. You can leave a message.
Perfect. And has that sleep schedule changed at all during the pandemic, or has that been constant?
Oh, yeah. In fact, last night I might have gotten 2 hours of sleep because there were helicopters overhead all night. There were 33 violent crimes within a 2-mile radius of where I live last night. So I appreciate the fact that people were trying to do something about it, law enforcement, and maybe some of those helicopters were news copters, but it sure made it hard to sleep with something flying low and slow over where you live. And I'm on the ground floor, so I can't imagine how the people upstairs dealt with it. Excuse me. Water. Okay.
All right. And then another related question. During the past month, how often have you done any physical activities such as running, walking, jogging, swimming for 30 minutes or more?
Probably twice.
Okay.
When I can get someone to walk with me.
Excellent. And then this is, so these are sort of a series of questions that are meant to be taken more as a survey about stress and anxiety. And so I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and then you'll respond on a scale between never and very often. So never, almost never, sometimes, fairly often, or very often. Does that make sense?
That makes perfectly good sense.
Perfect. So over the last month, how often have you been upset because of something that happened unexpectedly?
Very often.
Okay, thank you. Over the last month, how often have you felt that you were unable to control the important things in your life?
Often.
Great. How often did you felt nervous or stressed?
Very often.
Okay. How often did you feel, did you feel confident about your ability to handle your personal problems?
Very often.
Great. And then how often did you feel that things were going your way?
Not very